It's 600 yards from that drive-through. They're like, we might need a steel fence. I said, "Oh, that's nice."
Okay, we're streaming out live to Facebook, so I'm going to go ahead and start the meeting, everybody. Everyone, welcome to the April meeting of the Amateur Radio Club of Columbia County. Our first meeting back in person since, I believe, January of 2020. So it's a pretty big occasion for us. So I want to welcome everybody back to the land of the living. Got a few things to go through for business tonight. As I mentioned, we are recording and we are streaming out to our Facebook page, so there are folks that couldn't attend the meeting will be able to watch what we're doing. Bill is going to capture any introductions or any questions that come from the folks on Facebook. So could I ask someone to do the invocation for us?
Sure.
Devon, thank you.
Why you put my name on there? Just kidding. Let's pray. Father God, thank you for this day you've given us and beautiful weather. Will bring us to this moment in time to meet in person. I'm so grateful to see this. But I pray our fellowship, our conversation is having a good time tonight. In your name, Jesus.
Amen. Thank you, Devon. So as I mentioned, a few things we're going to do tonight will be welcome and introductions. I don't have any applications for membership, but if anyone has one, we'll call for those. A few updates. I do believe we will probably have some motions and some business to do today. And then once we're done with the business, Bill's going to give us a presentation about his journey through pursuing a vanity call sign. For the folks that are out on Facebook, if you're not already aware, a copy of the slides is available on the website. Probably much easier to pull them up on your screen and follow them than to try to follow it on the small screen on Facebook. Also, Facebook is delayed approximately 10 seconds, so we're about 10 seconds ahead of what they're seeing on Facebook, so we will pause periodically to see if there are any questions, and we'll also pause after our introductions and allow Bill to introduce folks. So if you're out on Facebook, put your name and your call sign in the comments and we'll announce you in. And bear with us, we haven't done live meetings in over a year, and this is blended, so it's bound to have a hiccup or two in it. Okay, if you haven't already seen the man with the clipboard, please do sign in. He's usually pretty good about catching everybody, but if you haven't, please do that before you go. We're going to do some quick introductions, go around the room and just ask for a name and a call sign. I'll start off. I'm Dan, N4MI.
I'm Chris. I don't have a call sign.
Okay.
David, W16WF. Steve, KJ4FSX.
Samantha, KM4NSF.
Bill, WK4F.
Drew, KA5BLY.
Rachel, KO4HLC. Shannon, KK4MED.
Mike, K4ECL.
Kenneth Calhoun, KO4HJX.
Chris, no sign.
Devon, KM4PHT.
Sammy, KM4MNU.
Barry, AB4BF.
Dave, KO4LDS.
Paul, KC4KBN.
Jeff, KO4HJR.
Dale, KG4SSY.
Jim, KD4YA.
Cindy, KM4DBA.
Hold it back and work. Eric, KK4ZHT. Howard, K5JCP.
JCW4QK.
Robert, K4KPZ.
Walter, W4EFS.
Wendell, WA4YJD. Russell, KG4HR.
Last but not least, Richard, KR4XN.
All right. I don't know how this microphone picks up. I won't know how it's been doing on Facebook, picking up to the back of the room until after this is over.
She's got one closed caption over here.
Okay, good.
And I've got two folks on Facebook.
Okay, go ahead.
Robert, KG4UKE, and David, KO4HCJ.
Okay, awesome. We'll check back in. I know I got some special visitors from over in South Carolina, Sammy and Barry.
Drag him over here.
Okay.
Thank God I'm home.
Appreciate it. Any updates from up that way with your club?
We had a wonderful turnout at our annual tailgate, and appreciate the ones that from here that did come. Probably the biggest one we've ever had. Some say 200 people, some say more. Some real good deals. About everything you could think of in the ham radio business was for sale, and as usual, good meal at Sheedy's. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
And I got one other, Mark, K04OQL.
Okay, welcome Facebook. As I said, I don't have any membership applications. Are there anyone have any to present? Okay. I don't think we have anything on the swap table tonight. Anyone got any announcements for sale or trade that they want to make now? Yes, sir.
I'm the vice president / president of WRRC Ridge Radio Club, and our president passed away. He had a real nice tower and hard line is what he wants to get rid of. You know, anybody's interested, it's about a 50-foot tower. It's not a Ron, but it's a little bit bigger than a 25. I don't think it's it's close to a Ron 45. And if anybody's interested in that, she wants to give it up. So, let me know.
Okay. Thank you, Sammy.
Thank you.
All right, just a quick plug for Amazon Smile. We make money for free off of that. We got a little over $50 in our last deposit in February. We're probably due for another one probably next month. But it doesn't cost you any extra, but puts free money into our treasury, so we appreciate it. Okay, here's our treasurer's report. So Rick is unable to make it this evening, but you see that the total amount that we have is a little over $9,000. We do have a little over $4,000 obligated, leaving us with $4,835, and plus I've got a couple hundred extra dollars that just came in this evening, so that puts us probably right around $5,000 that's available now. We do expect, and I'll wait for David to give the update. We do expect that potentially the repeater will cost less than what we projected for it, so that would leave a little bit more for funding, and I'm aware that we may have some additional requests for funding this evening as well. Any questions or anything on the Treasury or the Treasurer's report? Can I get a motion to accept the Treasurer's report? Eric, is there a second? Second from Jim. Any discussion? All in favor of accepting the Treasurer's report?
Aye.
Any opposed? Looks like you're outnumbered anyway. Okay. And also the Secretary's report is always posted up on the website for your review prior to the meeting. We post it generally a few days after the meeting takes place. And also if you go on there, all our slides in there, and they're hyperlinked to get to those documents. The treasurer, or the minutes for the last meeting are going to look remarkably like this meeting, because we're covering a lot of the same topics tonight that we covered last month, with the exception of the presentation. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes? Eric, again. Second. Jim, again. Any discussion, even though I know you're not seeing them, but okay, all in favor of accepting the Secretary's report?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, both of those motions carry. Thank you. Moving right along. Just a quick update on some upcoming events. We'll talk about that first one here a little more in depth in a few minutes, but that's coming up very, very quickly. Have a VE test session coming up on the 8th. There's also another event that day that we'll talk about. Our May meeting, I just got word I think yesterday that the Atlanta Ham Fest up in Marietta has been canceled for this year, unfortunately. But as far as we know, Huntsville, Shelby, and Stone Mountain are all still planning. And also, we were invited to participate by the EMA here in Public Safety and Preparedness Day near the end of August. And of course, Field Day. We'll be talking about Field Day here in a few minutes as well. Any questions? Are there any other announcements of events that anyone has?
I'll make a quick announcement. 1st of May, this coming Saturday, Augusta Club, we're going to have a field operating event out in front of the Georgia Welcome Center. There are 3 states doing state QSO parties and what have you. We're going to set up about 11. We're going to have at least 2 radios there. We're going to set up about 11, start operating about noon, run through 5, whenever we get tired and what have you. Anybody and everybody is welcome. We'd like to have a whole bunch of folks there. Anybody want to bring out their radios and test them out in the field and that sort of thing, you are welcome to do so. So just wanted to let everybody know that was going on.
Okay, thank you. Robert?
What happened to Oliver Holiday Festival? Is it the book?
I have not heard if they have it planned to go again this year. I haven't seen an announcement. I'll check on that.
I know all the work is happening, I just don't know what's going on with it. I've seen
Okay.
Facebook posts about it.
I just want to make a quick pause for the Facebook folks, and I want to ask, hopefully somebody put it in the comment, whether or not they're hearing the audio from around the room or just from the front of the room. Probably can't fix it tonight, but that's just a little quality control thing that we might try to work on for next time.
I want to recognize Mike N9GKA, excuse me. And then David Hernandez asked to share that the David M. Fiedler Memorial Amateur Radio Club is the new club that started up in Fort Gordon, and they're having their meeting tomorrow night via Google Meet at 6:30.
Okay, good.
One other quick note I forgot. We will have water there, no problem, but it's BYOF. Bring your own food and snacks.
And beverage besides water, I think.
You can do that also.
Rusty.
Corbin was not in here when we went around to the introductions.
Okay.
But he needs to.
Corbin, do a quick intro. You're the man.
Corbin Goody, work here at the EMA. Started back in January and the planning and training specialist here. So, call sign KO4OQD.
We're really grateful to Corbin because of him. We're in here tonight. If he weren't here, we would not be in here. Thank you, Corbin. Okay. If she doesn't mind, I would like to turn this slide over to Rachel. If you don't mind coming up, because the camera will be able to pick up your voice.
I got it, voice, not image? All right. So I don't know if you've been following us, but in December, we sponsored the Savannah River Academy for their ARIS application. If you don't know what ARIS is an opportunity for schools, clubs, and other organizations for their younger folk to connect with astronauts aboard the International Space Station. The Savannah River Academy was one of 7 schools in the United States selected for this fall's ARIS contract. We've been working tirelessly. I want to really recognize Dan and Tony Rizzi. He's not here today, but we got the application in for the equipment plan, and we've been doing events at the school every Wednesday almost. At least 3 out of every 4 Wednesdays we're in the school. In March, we introduced the students to ham radio. We introduced Morse code, the phonetic alphabet, and call signs. It was really great because eventually we even got them on the air. They're on the local repeaters, and I really want to thank our 7 or so volunteers who talked with the kids. They're ecstatic. They're absolutely ecstatic, and they're loving this. Our second section at April, we're mostly focusing on the atmosphere. We had Rick McKnight come in and he gave an explanation of the layers of the atmosphere and then how radio actually communicates in the ionosphere and some of the changes that happens. Next week, We're gonna have, or this week I should say, we're gonna have Noah in. They're gonna do an introduction to weather balloons, how radio is used to help communicate some of that technology down. And on May 5th, we're gonna actually launch 2 weather balloons at the school. The first weather balloon is gonna be a burst balloon. We're gonna basically attach a payload, and it's gonna be about a 4-pound payload. It'll have a GoPro in it. It will have a GPS spot trace on it so that our trackers can actually find it. Some audio devices, and maybe something else. We'll let you know about that. And then our second balloon is really thanks to a lot of our volunteers that I see in here. It's a pico balloon, meaning it's gonna be a very small payload, but instead of going up to max altitude, we're actually hoping it's going to float somewhere around 60,000 feet. And if we do it right, circumnavigate the Earth. It has on it a light APRS, which is really cool as long as we can get it programmed. Dan will know the exact frequencies.
Yeah, it'll transmit APRS on the normal VHF frequency for that. It also has a 20-meter whisper transmitter on it, so it'll be transmitting its location, our club call sign, I think the pressure and maybe temperature of where it is. It'll be doing that over APRS. I think it'll just be transmitting the call sign and grid square on whisper. It's got a 0.5 watt transmitter for VHF and a 10 milliwatt transmitter for, and it's about half the size of a credit card.
Size of a Zippo lighter.
Yeah, it's very tiny.
What kind of power supply does it have?
It has 2 super caps and I think it was a 5-volt solar panel on it. We have 2 solar panels. We could put 2 on there, but I mean, it's designed to be as light as you can possibly make it. I think the wire, the 20-meter antenna is like 17 feet long. The wire probably weighs more than the actual device itself does. But
So we are really excited about these launches. And because we're so excited about these launches and we want to do great by the kids, we're also hoping that I can get some volunteers. It's going to be about from 12:30 to maybe 2. And I'd really like to set up a club table and allow kids that didn't get a chance to get on the air the first time to get on the air. And maybe if JC is nice enough, we have a lot of kids that are interested in Morse code. I don't know what just attracted them to Morse code, but they think that Morse code is like the coolest thing in the world, and they want to send secret messages across the room without their teacher knowing what they're saying. So this is the mindset. And then in May, our last 3 lessons after the weather balloon, we're going to actually focus on outer space. Why astronauts are hams, what is a spacesuit, and getting them thinking about outer space so that they can form the 10 to 15 questions that they're going to ask the astronauts later on this fall. Because of all this, we are getting an immense amount of people interested in ham radio at the school, to a point where they're hoping to form a ham radio club this fall. We have a professor, Dr. White. She has a background in physics, and she wants to become a ham. She's already asking me how to study, how to get involved, and hopefully I have other business later on.
okay, thank you, Rachel.
How do we get in touch with you?
I have cards. You can email me. Facebook me. Really good for Facebook.
How about if you don't use Facebook?
Any questions for Rachel about any of these things? So we haven't really planned out a date yet. So the launch, or I'm sorry, not the launch, the actual contact with the ISS will occur sometime between July and December. We'll probably get 1 to 2 weeks notice of when they're actually going to do it. We have a guy coming down from Atlanta who's like a pro. He's got the full setup with the telescoping mast and the azimuth elevation rotor and all the preamps and radios and everything you need. He's done a ton of these, so he's going to come out and was gracious enough to help us to do this pretty involved process that ARIS requires to get this approval. I mean, we probably spent 3 weeks back and forth at least to get the equipment plan approved. I mean, down to like very minute details of the PA system and what plug goes where, and we just really involved. But once we are aware of the date, we will, of course, announce that out to the club. It'll be sort of up to the school about, you know, how many people we can probably bring in to attend, but we can perfect this technology of streaming. We will stream it live from the site as well, and we'll get some better recording equipment for balloons as they go up in the air. I don't think this one's going to cut it for that, but anyway, this is I've mentioned this in a few other meetings while we were still on Zoom time, but this is not for our club just about Savannah River Academy. This is us getting used to doing this so that we can help pretty much any school in this area that wants to get their academics involved into ham radio. We will be well practiced. And it's not our first rodeo with this. I know Jim and Cindy have done this, and Pete has done it as well. But I'm hoping that we'll be able to kind of work out and start doing this to scale. I think we've had some interest in amateur radio club at Evans High School potentially as well. So we just want to get good at doing it. ARIS is a great program. We'll learn how to deal with ARIS, and maybe we can get some of our public schools in here to get approved to have a contact with them as we get a little bit better with it. Also, I think we haven't really planned it, but we had talked about potentially having a day there with HF radios so that they've done the repeaters. You know, if the propagation picks up, and they could probably get pretty excited about hearing some foreign voices on the radio and talking to some people around the world. It doesn't seem like a big deal to a lot of kids nowadays because they can pick up their iPhone and do that. But we're kind of teaching them the magic of radio and getting them a little more interested. If that fails, we do have a D-Star radio, so that we might be able to go on One Charlie reflector and hear some blokes talking on there. All right, any questions or comments about Savannah River Academy and ARIS? Okay. Just some pictures that we captured. You see Dr. Rick in there really showing his stuff with the atmosphere teaching. And these kids, when they got on the radio, trust me, it was very cool. Bill got to talk to the Whiskey Brothers. You missed the Whiskey Brothers, you missed a real treat. And he is now a Whiskey Brother, yeah. I think, too. I think I've told the story at some of our other meetings, but two young men were very delighted when we introduced the phonetic alphabet that their last name started with. Both of their last names started with W, Whiskey. And they announced to us that they were the Whiskey Brothers, and we've been that ever since. I'm sure their parents were real happy to hear that day when they came home from school, but all in good fun. They have a great time. These go from 2nd to 5th grade. It's been interesting to try to adapt some of this to that level, but they're sponges. Awesome kids. Okay, I'll just move really quick into a few business items because I want to leave plenty of time for Bill in his presentation. As I mentioned earlier, Public Safety and Preparedness Day, August 28th, we've been invited to participate. Susie Messick kind of invited us to join with them, to join with Aries, to do something together that day. That seems like a really good idea, combining resources to do that. So Bill has also graciously volunteered to take lead for the club on that, so anybody who's interested in that. It's a little ways off. It's also going to be out here in Patriots Park on August 28th during the day. That would be a heck of a lot of fun. But anyway, it'll be great. We've been collecting our dues. Because of COVID, we've stretched it out a little bit more. So we're gonna try to conclude on April the 30th, but I will send notes out to people who I think may have just missed it. Just put in a quick mention for Field Day. We haven't had any one step up to be to direct that operation, so just going to kind of leave it on the table. This is probably about the last month to begin planning to have an effective Field Day operation. So if anyone, usually once someone agrees to take the lead, then a few people jump in and follow. So I won't put you on the spot here tonight, but if someone's interested in doing that, contact one of us on the board.
If somebody wants to help, I'll help with good
All right, anybody want to jump in and co-direct? We got a victim. We'll find someone. I think now that you did it, somebody will. Thanks. Any questions about those first three things? I'm gonna ask David probably to jump on the repeater stuff.
Thank you, Dan. With the help of,
Could you come up close to the camera, Dave? Sorry. You'll have to be on just close to it.
thanks for all the hard work from Robert McManus and Walter and Rusty, and the repeater, 985 repeater is going to get a lot of revamping. We're putting in new hardline to the 985 repeater, and then we're going to put in two other hardlines, one to a triple band antenna, which will do 6 meters, 2 meters, and 440, and then another dual band antenna, which will do 2 meters and 440. And the tower climbers are coming next Wednesday, and you know, they have the insurance and it has to be done professionally. They'll put in the new hard line and put up the new antennas, and Walter, Robert, and I will be there. Also, I'd like to replace the 440 repeater that's in there that hasn't been working because there's a problem with the feed line to the antenna. And I'll donate a 440 repeater. I used to be in the two-way radio business out in California, and I have a bunch of leftover commercial repeaters. And this particular repeater is actually more than a repeater, it's a remote base. And you can go in on 440 and you can, with touch tones, come out on any 2 meter frequency or any frequency really between 80 meters and 2 meters, FM sideband or AM. And you control it with touch tones. I've been doing it for years in California. So the first goal is to put it in and just get it going as a 440 repeater and make sure that's working right. And then we'll go for the 2 meter linking and make sure that that is working correctly. And then maybe later someday we'll try to get it going on HF. So I need the club's endorsement to go ahead and do that. So Dan, do we vote on this or what?
Yeah, so just to make sure we state it correctly, basically I think the motion is to accept David's repeater to swap out with the 70 centimeter repeater that's currently at the repeater site, and the club will assign its call sign to that repeater.
Any questions? Yeah, are we gonna put some controls on this crossbander so that just anybody can't go in and come out on some HF frequency? They may not have privileges on it? Yes, we are. First of all, there'll be touch tone codes and other things. And so it's going to evolve, and for the people who are interested in it, at one of our meetings here, maybe afterwards or before the meeting, we'll have a little class on how to operate it. But we won't have technician license coming out on 20 meters. So we'll take care of that, but it'll be a process and evolve as we go on time.
And if I heard him correctly, we will not be enabling that function initially until I think we're satisfied that we can control it.
And at first it'll just be, as we evolve, it'll be the 2 meter linking into other repeaters. The beauty of this is where it's located high up, that it'll be able to link in repeaters very far away. And it isn't relying on the internet, so we don't have that issue if there's a disaster. Yes, sir.
Is this at the water tower location?
Yeah. Any other questions?
Dan, are we looking at any additional costs beyond what we've already authorized?
None.
Okay.
I'm donating everything as far as the 440 repeater and the remote base thing.
Okay, good.
In fact, I mean, I don't want to give exact amounts about it, but I believe we may be coming in under the amount that was budgeted for. Yes, sir.
David, you're going to have your call on this repeater?
No, we'll have the club's call on it. because it'll be on the club's frequency. I've already got that programmed.
Any other questions or concerns? Or I really want to primarily make sure we bring Richard into this as the trustee too. Go ahead, Jim.
I think if David's making the motion and you're looking for a second when we get to that point.
That'd be nice.
We are.
Okay. Well, I'll second it. I'll keep the thing when we get there.
Okay.
There's no other discussion.
Did you capture that, Samantha? Okay.
Can you
David.
read it back? So we've got a clear motion on it?
The club approves allowing the donation of the repeater and set it up at the 985 site with linking capabilities.
And
Jim
I
seconded. Okay. Any other discussion on it before we, Richard, you're the trustee for the call side. I kind of want to hear you weigh in on this a little bit too.
Well, he asked a question that I had in mind about people that don't have HF privileges doing crossband. So I guess David said there's going to be some sort of control over that.
And if I'm tracking, right now all we're doing is swapping out the repeater, and at some future date we'll discuss
Yeah.
the other capabilities.
So that would be a separate motion and a separate vote at the appropriate time to do that. Anyone else? So we do have a motion and we do have a second. We'll call for a vote. Anticipate there might be some differences on this one. So all in favor? That looks like a majority. Is there anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thanks, David. Appreciate it. Okay, I know there's going to be some more money asks here. Rusty, can you just kind of walk through? I have the list of prices, but can you just kind of walk through what it is and what it's for?
For the domains?
Yeah, for the domains and for the PBX, I think.
Okay, so for the IT committee, the domains that we had haven't been secured. There's, I forget how many domains, but it has to do with ARCCC and the call sign. So we've got all of those domains secured, so that another club doesn't use it, or clubs get confused or what have you. And the domains are up for renewal, I think it's in June.
Yes.
So we would like to receive funds of some sort to renew those domains, whether it be for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 9 years, as far as we can go. And I don't remember what the costs were.
I have that.
But Dan has that.
Yep.
So this is for the website and other.
So for the website, and as Rusty mentioned, it won't just secure arccc.org. It has several others that are related to ARCCC and K4 KNS. So the reason that we secure those is to minimize confusion and also to prevent somebody from putting a porn site or something up on one of those and people looking for our website and finding that. So the prices for the domain renewals for all of those domains is going to be $237.76 for 1 year. $460. It gets cheaper if you do multi-years. $461.46 for 2 years. $684.16 for 3 years, and $2,000 for 9 years. I figured it's probably not likely we're going to get approved to spend for 9 years, but I would, just my recommendation after kind of talking to Rusty and what this is for, would recommend doing at least 2 years so that we're not just continually facing this. I'm just looking for a motion of whether to do this and how much to do it for.
Just a question of clarification, does that include hosting those domains, or does that just to have them reserved?
That's just pointing of a regular domain to the IP address. The hosting is paid for through TechSoup credits that we purchase every 2 or so years. So the hosting is also typically paid for. What we paid is less than $200, it seems like, for the whole year. So the hosting is taken care of in a separate fashion. Okay. These are just domain names to point to that for that hosting.
Which ones are these?
The domain names?
Yeah.
It's ARCCC and all of the TLEs and K4KNS, and all of the TLEs.
So anybody who types in one of those other domains will be directed to our club website.
So you're looking at ComNet
Or
US
Club.
TV Club.
It's not like XYZ and all of the non-common ones, but the ones that have been around for a long, long time, we've secured those. I forget how many, it's like 15 of them between, or 16 of them between the two names.
Okay.
Is the certificate included in that, or is that with the hosting?
That's what those.
You had $154 for something like this on your budget slide. Is that something else?
Now, that was just for the domain name itself, the one that we currently have, not for any of the others.
But I think even that one's up for renewal in June,
Yeah.
so, yeah. So we actually previously approved
Yeah,
that one, so.
we actually changed providers. We switched to different providers, and we're actually getting cheaper than we have with the previous provider.
So I'll go ahead and make a motion on this one. I would like to make a motion to do the 2-year renewal at $461.46. Okay. Any discussions or counter proposals on that?
How much?
$461.46.
Now, is that in addition to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't know if that's in addition to.
Well, make the motion, then we have discussion.
Okay, yeah. Approve $461.46 to the IT committee to do 2-year renewal on all of the domains that are listed on this
How much
page.
is
3 years is $684.16.
That's a little less than the 2-year. I have a question, 1 year.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a second for the 2-year? Yes.
I don't have oh, I do? Okay, Robert.
Yeah, Robert.
Yes, Rachel.
Can I ask how often the prices go up? So if we wait next year, is it going to increase maybe 10%?
It usually goes down, it just depends. There's a lot of stuff that's involved in politics, the material, and it's a lot of competition. But it will be, that's one of the costs, it's a recurring cost for the club. And we've had, I don't think this club has had that issue, but there has been other clubs that have had issues with domains not being renewed or somebody else securing the domain.
I was just debating 2 or 3.
My goal now that we're kind of getting back into a normal swing of things is for next year, at the beginning of the year, to kind of capture all of these recurring costs and put them in a budget proposal at the beginning of the year, so we know what we have to spend on our IT costs and also maintenance on computers and things like that. Any other discussion or proposals? Yes.
Now, my question was, is this in addition to what we currently have?
Yeah, we have 150.
We already have these. We already have.
Well, we have 154 that was laid out for IT stuff.
Money that's already in the budget. Is this supplementing that?
That may have been what we used to get those domains last year. That may be a number left over from last year's budget.
But this is what you need. This is what you need. Okay.
So this would replace
Would
that?
supersede that.
Okay, that would
Okay.
supersede. Okay.
That's even better. Sweetens the deal a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? Do we want to go with 2 years or? Okay. That gets it past my presidency. I'm happy with that.
Until you get to the finalized section, we'll get that.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve 2 years, $461.46 for the IT committee. We have a second. Are there all in favor of approving? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. He's not done yet, though. asking for money. And we haven't even gotten to Walter yet, though. All right, so the other part, Rusty, you're probably going to have to explain this as well. I have the amounts here.
Okay, so try to remember how I sent it to you, but
You want the paper?
there are several pieces of documents that the club has that require a phone number, and because we don't have a phone number, it jumps from person to person to person. To alleviate from it being on a personal level or attached to a person for the club, we would like to get a phone number for the club and spin up a voice over IP phone system and use that phone number that we can put on our 501c3 documents, on our website, on our corporation. Anything that the club is aware of, have that phone number. We can set it up to where that when that phone number is called, that it can go to specific areas. When I say specific areas, we're talking about the board of directors, committees, and we can do that based on time constraints. We have a test server up and running using the same system we use for our website. It's minimal cost. We've tested it, Walter and I actually, what was it last night? We tested it for 20 or 30 minutes. We were on the phone. And so we've got a couple of phones scattered out that we're testing. It is really, really secure locked down because we haven't taken the time to go further with the phone system until we get club buy-in. There are a couple of modules that would be nice to have for us to proceed with this, but basically if we were to do this phone system, we would also be able to have phones at repeater sites. We would be able to do some control. We have some remote controls from the broadcast industry that we can use to monitor different things at the individual repeater sites. And a few other things that we can do, including conference calls, things of that nature. So I don't remember what else I sent to you, but that's the preface of the phone system.
Okay.
We would have our own phone number for the club, and then we can make the club its own entity without tying to an individual person.
And I will just say that when we do transitions of board members, that has been not a major hassle, but a little bit of a hassle to try to get past that, is particularly on 501c3 documents and things like that, when there's somebody, 3 administrations passed. Go ahead, Jim.
Do we want to consider adding that, getting new business cards with that phone number if we go that route?
Yeah, absolutely. And that would be, the business cards would be fairly minimal cost, I do believe. But I have the breakdown of the cost to do this that Rusty. So the cost of the phone number will be about $1.25 a month, $40 upfront payment, which will be used until the balance falls below $10, at which point we add more funds on. The other one, there's some one-time costs for modules. Rusty recommended a sysadmin pro module at $25 and an endpoint manager at $149. And then the server piece, as he mentioned, that will be covered by our tech soup, which we get at deep discount to get our server time and bandwidth. So the motion that I will relay on behalf of Rusty is to proceed with testing of the voice over IP system and authorize the following amounts: $40 to secure the phone number, $25 for the sysadmin pro module, $149 for the endpoint manager, and that's a total of $214 up front to do this. So once we do the upfront, it's just the monthly cost of the phone number at that point.
And server use, which is covered by this.
And business cards.
I'll second that.
Okay. So I have that motion from Rusty. I'll read it back if anybody needs to hear it again, and a second from Jim. Is there any discussion on this?
So what does this give us that we really need?
It gives us a phone number that can be published, that we can route anywhere at any time. So if we're having a field day event during the day of field day, when you call the number, you press 1 to talk to the field day co-directors, it goes straight to the co-directors' phone number.
Who's going to use that?
The committees. belongs to the club and not the person, because technically with the 501c3 and the incorporation documents, it's not PayPal, it's not club, it's a person. So if there's any event that takes place with any of those three, it's going to fall back on that person and not the club. Plus, it'll give us the ability to have committees that can call into a conference room and have discussions if they want to have individual. They don't have to do it necessarily a Zoom or you know, a video chat. They can actually have a telephone chat if they like.
We essentially have a structured phone system rather than sort of the ad hoc kind of, you know, my cell phone, your cell phone.
Are we getting too fancy?
I think we're making things simpler. I think we're making things simpler. Because then the club will have a permanent phone number and you're not going to have to change it every time your leadership changes.
Okay.
And so the value that I see in this is when we're having the public outreach events, you know, a lot of the public can't reach us on, you know, on VHF. A lot of times when we're doing activities, people aren't near the radios or whatever when they're trying to come in. I can remember trying to come in and find a testing site when Cameron was testing for her general license. And we couldn't find them. And we didn't have any way of walking all around this church trying to find people, right? We didn't have any way of getting a direct contact with people. And as we're getting more and more into the public outreach where we're talking to non-hams trying to get them pulled in, their interface is through a cell phone. And with this, they can dial that, we can put it on all of our field day flyers, all of our publications going out to the public, and they can have a direct way to get to us that will always work.
To add to what Jim was saying, like tonight's meeting, if there was somebody that was not aware of where this was or wanted to call, we could put time constraints for tonight on the fourth Tuesday of every month that the phone system would put into the IVR that if you press 2 for the general meeting, it would call somebody probably not on the board, but somebody we know is going to be here that could answer the phone and step out and guide somebody in. The same thing goes for the PE session, which is on the first Saturday.
Second Saturday.
Same scenario. So every time that there's an event, we can change it so that it would all be still there. All the items would be in the IVR, but we would move it up to the committee so they don't have to listen to everything during those events. So general meetings, PE sessions, field day, holiday party, prepare and aware, or whatever the name is. So whatever event, you can change the IVR so that you can do that.
So how many phones are we looking at?
As many as you want.
Okay, but I mean,
the phones do cost, but the numbers, the extensions do not. We can have as many extensions as you want.
So it'll like dial out to you, like if you're the one. They'll dial that number and it'll find the appropriate person for that thing.
So if I want to call field day co-director Steve, and I pick up the phone and I call the phone number for the club and it says, if you would like to speak to a field day co-director, press 1. They press 1, it calls your cell phone number, but they don't have your cell phone number. They have the club's phone number and you answer as far as the field day co-director. And then when you, as a field day co-director, changes, we change it to the phone system and it calls the next field day co-director.
so the system calls my cell phone number?
It can.
Okay. So you're not having to buy additional phones in order to handle people?
No.
Okay,
It's
that's what, that was my concern.
It's the same as any phone system, yeah, it's the same.
It's basically a virtual phone system essentially.
Okay, so it's, okay, I got it.
But you have to start with one number.
Yeah.
The direct number dial number, yes.
Got it. Okay.
JC.
To me, it's just
I'm
like an
slow.
extension of P.O. Box 800.
Right.
Now, we got one P.O. Box, all of our mail comes there, and if everybody wanted to share their own home address, then we'd have the same thing we've got now with the phone numbers.
It'll be our QSL bureau.
What was the monthly recurring charge?
It was
$1.25.
Yeah,
So
125.
just a plug for your earlier comment about Amazon Smile. Most everybody sitting in this room is on Amazon. If you're not using Amazon Smile, you really need to do that. And the other one is Kroger. Aren't we still getting money from Kroger? If you have not linked your Kroger card to the ARCCC, you're losing money because it costs you nothing, but it gives money to the club.
Yeah, just
and for $1.52, we should be making that from Kroger.
Well,
or
I would say that
Smile
Amazon is
every
probably giving us pretty close to $150 a year. So, I mean, that's what six club members do.
And I was gonna say, we've got to be a large portion of that. So if every single person signed up for just Amazon Smile and Kroger, that would be more than covered, I'm sure.
Yeah. So unless there's any other questions, I want to kind of bring this back around to, so the motion was for $214 more to IT to implement this system.
That's one time, no recurring charge.
Just the $125 a month after that.
$1.25.
Yeah, $1.
$1.
Which we'll probably just pay a year up or more in advance. I'll pay that. I'll cover the $1.25. Feeling gracious. Did we get a second on it? I don't even remember. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put it for vote. All in favor? That looks like a majority, but any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. All right, that takes us through IT. We talked about repeater. I don't know that we have any other news on the repeater front. Any other, Shannon, anything from VE that you want to announce?
If nobody watched the last meeting, Maria from the ARL did send me an email saying that the test fees are still $15. They have not gone up yet. And she said it has not been passed, so as of right now, it's still going to remain $15 for you to take a test. And right now, I think I got 5 people for next month, or for May signed up. And my plan is to take over the CSRB groups months too, because I don't think they're doing them anymore, but I'm trying to find an alternative test site for those months, which I think the next one will be in June if I find something.
Okay.
And Walter hit 100.
That's correct.
100 tests.
Congratulations, Walter.
Tests
Devon, anything from net control? Other than the usual plea?
Yeah, we're doing pretty good. We got a couple new guys, and that's going well. But you KO'd 4 guys. You like to get your feet wet, doing the net one night. All you have to do is contact me, and we'll get you set up. We'd love to hear you not just check in, but
even I can do it.
Yeah.
I only messed up my call sign one time.
I'll throw out there something once you try it, but they're concerned about the logging. I'll do the logging. Just read the announcements, try it out, right? So
contact me, of course. The announcement is in the preamble all the time. It's my call sign at outlook.com. So it's AM4PHD at outlook.com. And we'll get you set up. And the cool thing about it, it makes our nets not dry when a new person is doing the net. So there's a lot of lurkers out there just listening. Y'all know y'all. So when the new guy is doing it, a new person's doing it, it's always interesting.
We had a few new check-ins last night.
Yeah.
That was cool. Richard, anything?
That's why.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Who's this new guy? Richard, anything from trustee tonight? Thank you. Any others that I might have missed that I wasn't aware of? Yes, sir.
just in constitution bylaws, we're gonna start kicking that in. So what I'm looking for over the next couple of weeks is anybody that's got any recommendations, suggestions, things that they want us to look at in particular for the bylaws and the bylaw committee. And then Steve, I was gonna say we'll probably have to have a dinner or something and find some excuse to eat, look over the bylaws. And,
just let me know.
all right. Let's give that maybe the next 3 or 4 weeks. We'll give you kind of open it up, give us some feedback, and then at the end of that 4 weeks, we'll go through and we'll make our cut at it. We'll bring it back with us.
Awesome. Thank you.
No fonts under 10.
You didn't say anything about white. For those that don't know, I tried to write Rusty in as a lifetime president last time around.
Does not work that way,
And
sir.
all print must be in dark.
Yeah, I wrote it in white text.
Indelibly.
David, do you want to say anything about the Aries exercise on May the 8th?
Susan, who's in charge of Columbia County Racing Areas, we're having an exercise on May 8th. And basically, we're sending digital from Patriots Park. We're going to set up a portable station, and it'll go to the EOC here. So if you want to come out for a few hours and either help or learn about some digital communications, we'd sure love to have any help. You can contact me or Susan, and it'll be sort of an interesting, fun day.
Thanks, David.
What time of the day is it?
Saturday.
What time?
I'm not sure the exact time yet, probably around around 9 in the morning, I would guess.
This Saturday?
May 8th.
Tuesday.
Devon, anything from Amron
Yeah,
tonight?
Luckily, we are almost like what Aries is doing. We're testing digital mode simplex, and we've been successful in the last couple weeks across the river, back across the river. And we're doing 2-meter simplex digital on FLDG, JS8, and some other software. So we have a lot of techs that have never played with digital communication. I'm not talking about DMR and DCR. I'm talking about using some software to transmit keyboard to keyboard. And so we have a lot of techs that in Amron, we get a what we call an AIB every Tuesday. This afternoon is called Amron Intelligent Brief. Comes from the Pacific Coast. Our HF guys pick it up, and our goal is to disseminate it to our own operators. So locally, we're transmitting that 2-meter. We're going from HF and switching over to 2-meter simplex. But to help these guys up, we have permission from the Edgefield repeater, the 850, to use that right after that to do digital communications on the repeater. We just successfully did that this afternoon, and it went really well. So a lot of our tech guys are getting their VHF, UHFs set up for digital communications, which is rare. A lot of people even know that your Kenwood, whatever, can do digital communications. And so we feel pretty excited about that. So if you'd like to jump in, we'll be doing that every Tuesday afternoon on the 850. If you don't have any idea to do it, you can do a one-on-one to get your radio set up and all the capabilities. So it's real fun. So that's what's going on right now.
Thank you, Devon. Okay. So Samantha, I know we have a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, I got mine.
Yes, Rachel. Go ahead.
I had a motion before we close out.
Okay. Before we stop, go ahead.
So there, ARL just announced that they're doing a Teachers Institute on Wireless Technology. It's going to be on July 12th, and it's that week. And each teacher that signs up, it's about $50 to sign up. They'll get a box of equipment, and they're going to walk through the teacher's basics to ham radio. And we had, I know a couple of teachers, and other teachers might know a couple of teachers. But I was wondering if the club would be willing to maybe sponsor 1 or 2 teachers to attend this virtual event so that we can, I don't want to say corrupt youth because people misinterpret my enthusiasm, but so that we can better proliferate and educate our youth in ham radio. And I didn't know if you guys would be willing, but I would like to make a motion to maybe sponsor 2 teachers to attend.
$100.
It would be $100, and we could get.
We do have one already interested that we are aware of.
Yes.
So I'm going to amend the motion to say up to $100 to sponsor 2 teachers if they want to attend the virtual, what do they call it again?
Virtual wireless technology.
It's ARRL sponsors this for educators, so good program. So the one that she's referring to is Dr. White, who we mentioned, who's out at Savannah River Academy who wants to get a ham license and start a ham club. So this is probably a pretty decent investment for us to do. And I don't.
Rachel's gonna lead this?
Oh, there's no leading, we just.
This is basically we give them the money and they go
She's
to
gonna
attend.
handle all that, right?
No, yeah, we'll give her the money and
I'll
they'll.
second the motion.
What's it called?
You should throw in there that it's also the coach.
That way you will get.
All right, so that motion was for up to $100 to sponsor up to 2 teachers.
Happens in July.
Yes.
July 12th. But I was told that it's only the first 50 teachers that sign up, so.
So if you want to go, we'll pay for it.
No, I was just thinking of trying to field day, asking the person who participated to come in and do a presentation.
Oh,
or something
we'll tie
at
that
field
to
day.
it for sure.
Yeah.
We can tie that to it for sure.
Rachel's responsible.
All right, so we had a motion, we had a second for.
No, but wait a minute, what's the motion though? Because is the motion been amended?
No, it's still up to $100.
No, but is there strings attached, is what I heard.
Well, we're asking. I don't know that we can demand that somebody comes in and does a
But I would at
presentation.
least
I
ask.
don't think we can sell them to do it.
I think we can persuade them.
I was just trying to throw Rachel under the bus.
No one's being nice.
We ain't voting for president.
All right.
Call for the question.
So the motion is to authorize up to $100 to sponsor up to 2 teachers to attend this seminar sponsored by the ARL.
What if there's another teacher that wants to be sponsored?
Then I bet we'll get donations. I'm just willing to bet. In fact, I know we'll get at least one.
150 cap on?
We could. Do we want to amend it to a 150 cap? Does anybody know any other teachers who might want to do it?
I know one who might be interested.
Okay.
And I know maybe, I do know another teacher that might be interested.
I could
Because he's
probably
employed
do
for
it
getting it.
too.
Okay.
I really.
All right. So now it's amended up to $150 for 3 teachers. This is good spending. This is good money spending here.
Would it be out of line to say that Ridge Radio Club would like to sponsor a teacher?
It would not be out of line at all.
Are you guys open to sponsoring a school association teacher?
Potentially.
Okay.
I think we would just, I think, given that, we have one and we sort of know the details of this one, I think if, Rusty already threw Rachel under the bus, but I think if we provide her with the details of what that is, we will certainly entertain it. Like I said, I believe that there will be donations made for something like this too.
This club never lacks for donations for those kinds of things, so.
Okay, I think I got it out there, $150 motion. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, now, anybody else before I turn it over to Samantha?
All right.
Just tell us how much we spent.
David made a motion for the club to accept the donation of the repeater donated by him. The club cost something we placed on it, and it will be at the water tower location. Jim seconded it. Dan made a motion to renew the domains at $461.46 for 2 years. Robert seconded it. Rusty made a motion to proceed with testing of voice over IP and go ahead with the cost of $214 to start the program. Jim seconded it. And then Rachel made a motion to sponsor teachers at the ARL Teachers in Wireless Technology at $250.
Okay, thanks. Any questions, concerns, or Phil about those?
Yeah.
Okay, at this point, unless anybody else has any business to bring up at the meeting.
From the Facebook page, there's 2 other folks that checked in.
Okay.
Eric, KC9ASC, and Marion, KO4NSY. And then also David shared that the CSRA has a digital talk group on TGIF 358, which I believe is DMR.
It's DMR. It's on the TGIF network.
So.
Okay, thanks. So we're looking for one more motion to end the business meeting and start the presentation. Would anybody so move? All right, Eric has moved to end the business meeting. Jim has seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor? All right, I'm going to turn it over now to Bill. He's got a presentation about his adventure. I'm just going to change up the slides real quick.
So actually, we could have let Dan give this presentation. Could have let Dan give this presentation since he just went through this this process of getting a vanity call sign. But I just thought there's so many folks that are newly licensed that might be interested in a different call sign than the one that will just systematically assign to you. So I just thought we'd talk about that a little bit this evening. We'll start out with some licensing statistics and then talk about what is a vanity call sign. Why would you even want one? You know, what types of vanity call signs are available? Once you decide you want one, which one might you want? What things would you want to consider? How do I know if my choice is available? And then how do I get one? And where and when will it? How long will it take? And then I'll just talk a little bit about how I got to WK4F, and then there'll be some links as far as some websites and some tools that you could use to get some additional information. So there's a website called hamdata.com that kind of keeps track of all of us, you know, the numbers. And so on any given day, there are 24 new technician licenses granted. And as of this past weekend, there were 427,000.
Why don't you take it outside?
Yeah.
It's really rude.
I'm sorry, I asked a man a question and he was answering it. My fault.
As far as general licenses, there are only about 12 of those a day, and about 193,000 general licenses in the United States. And then extra licenses, only about 8 per day, and about 158,000 extra license hands out there. There's still over 8,000 novice licenses that are still active in the United States, and that decreases by about 2 a day. And then there are advanced class, of course, neither one of those are granted, and those decrease by about 5 per day. In the state of Georgia, just for comparison, there's 21,000, almost 21,000 amateur radio operators with active licenses. We're the 14th highest state in the United States as far as licenses are concerned, and then those are the numbers there. So let's talk about what is a vanity call sign. Well, the FCC says the vanity call sign system offers you the opportunity to request a specific call sign for your primary station. You can also do it for a club station if you want. A vanity call sign is selected by the FCC from a list of calls that is requested by the station licensee. And there are 3 different types of requests that you can make. You can submit a list of up to 25 different call signs, and you submit them in priority order. And they'll go down that list when they evaluate it, and they'll pick the first one that's available and assign it to you. When you're trying to do the application, you can't use wildcard terms like any call sign with my initials or any call sign with the prefix this or the suffix that. Those will be tossed out. One thing to note, though, is once you change your call sign to something else, your old call sign is forfeited, it's vacated, and in 2 years and 1 day, somebody else can come get that call sign. There are 3 types of requests by list, which I talked about earlier. You can have up to 25 on that list. You could request a call sign by a close, that was previously held by a close relative or former holder now deceased. Or you can request, as the former holder of a call sign, you can request that as well. And the real world definition is a call sign that you choose that complies with the FCC's call sign requirements for class, for structure, prefix, suffix, and so forth, and then physical location. So why would you even want one? Well, maybe your current call sign is really long phonetically. You know, November 7, Sierra, Juliet, India. That's 14 syllables. Kilo, India 4, Delta, November, Sierra. 14 syllables. That's a lot to say when you're in a pileup with a DX station and you're trying to get their attention. You might have one that's hard to pronounce or easily misunderstood. You know, N9DVB or W8AEV. You know, if you've got a call sign that contains a lot of B's, D's, E's, G's, T's, you know, those are sometimes, unless you're doing it phonetically, are difficult to communicate. Some folks, you know, a silent key, you know, a relative, a father, an uncle, a grandfather, whose call sign, you know, that they held for many years, they're a silent key. You might want to pick that call sign up to, you know, to honor them. Some folks might want a call sign that reflects, you know, the class of license that they hold. And we'll talk about what those differences are in just a minute. You know, I want to stand out in a pileup. That's one of the things I was looking for in my call sign. Whiskey Kilo 4 Foxtrot. You know, 7 syllables. I can get that out, you know, fairly quickly. Or, you know, I want to recognize something or somebody, and we'll talk about some examples here in just a minute. So what kinds of call signs are available? With technicians, you've got what they call Group C, Group D. Technicians in general basically can have a 1x3 call that starts with K, N, or W, or you can have a 2x3 call that starts with K or W with another letter, a number, and then the 3-letter suffix. The extra class has some additional, of course they can have any of the call signs that are in Group C and D, but also K, N, and W, you know, 1x2 or 2x1. And we'll talk about the availability of those in just a minute. An A through L, AA through AL, followed by a 2-letter suffix, and then K, N, or W, a 2x2 call sign. K, N, and W with another letter, a number, and then a 2-letter suffix. So which ones aren't available? There's a whole list comes off the FCC website. I'm certainly not going to walk through all of these, but there are some unique call signs that you just think, wow, yeah, I've never heard. You know, there is no KO4 QSL. There is no KA4 QSL or W4 QSL. There are no call signs that have QRA through QUZ in them. There are no call signs that have SOS in them. You know, I mentioned AA through AL previously. That's because AM through AZ are assigned to other countries in the world. Any call sign that's a 2x3 that has an X for the first letter of the suffix. That's one that I didn't know you couldn't have. I was familiar with the FEMA, you know, AF, KF, NF, and WF with a number and then EMA after it. Those are designated for government FEMA stations. And then a lot of the P's, KP, NP, and WP are assigned to a lot of the islands, Puerto Rico, for example, and other islands in the Caribbean that belong to that are part of the United States. And then finally, of course, the 1x1 special event stations that are just assigned on a short-term basis for a special event station. So, all right, now I've decided I want one, but I can't decide which one. What should I consider? Well, if you're in the CW, you might consider the weight of the call sign. You know, you count the dits and the dashes, or the dots and the dashes, to get a weighting factor. Dan's new call is an outstanding CW call. M4MI, you know, that's about as short as you're going to get in the CW world. If you're primarily in the single sideband voice communications, you want to consider the length, you know, the pronunciation, the catchiness. or maybe you want to represent something like your initials, for example, or a college or a sports team, your hobbies, your interests. And some of the examples that I pulled up, you know, K9 dog, K9 DOG, or W4UGA if you're a Bulldog fan. If you happen to work at the Savannah River site, K4SRS, you know, W8 USA, and so forth and so on, IDX. Those are very, very popular. This last call sign here is my dad's call sign, WB4SRO. And even though it might offend some folks who are strict about their phonetics, my dad's call sign, SRO, standing room only. When he's in a DX pileup and he just throws out standing room only, it almost always gets his call sign in front of whoever the station is. And they pick him up and he makes the contact. There's actually K8ZT.com has a spreadsheet that will allow you to evaluate all the characteristics of a whole list of call signs that you want to put in there. You can assign the weights. You know, I care more about the length, or I care more about the phonetics, or I care more about you know, how it whether it communicates it's a word or something that people would pick up. And then you can rank your choices. And it's a neat little spreadsheet that you can pull up on that website and fill in 10 call signs, and it'll show you how each one of those ranks based on how much weight you assign to each of the characteristics. So, all right, now you've kind of picked one. How do I know that my choice is available? Well, there's quite a few websites, but the two that I use that were most helpful, radioqth.net. They've got a tool that will let you can plug in, you know, KA4, and it'll show you a list of all the KA4 call signs that are available. You know, AAF, AAG, and so forth and so on. It'll show you a whole list. You can put in on that website. You can use their tools. You can do wildcards like K and then a question mark and then a number, and it will give you, you know, KC4. It'll give you KD4, KE4. You know, any of the combinations. So it's a very useful website just to kind of get an idea of which kind of call signs are available and which ones you can choose from. And then AE7Q.com is extremely helpful in that, and Dan, is there any way we could pull that up real quick? Maybe. Because AE7.com website is such that it shows you which call signs, you know, a 1x2 and a 2x1, which ones are coming available, you know, for the next 2 years. And you can, there you go. And you look at the statistics and click on the 4 on the left-hand side there, Dan. Click on the 4. And just kind of scroll down just a little bit, and we'll. So, yeah, no, this will be good for. So as of the 26th of April, which was yesterday, the Group D, the last call sign that was allocated was KO4 PVR, and they pull all this information from the FCC website. You can see, for example, the last 2x2 call sign that was granted was KY4HJ, and of course all the 2x2s in the Group A and the 1x2s and 2x1s have been granted. 2012 was the last one. But for example, you can see that there are 4 call signs that are 2x1 or 1x2 in the 4 region that are available. And we'll talk about what that really means in just a minute. There are 10 that are somewhere in the application process. There are 76 that have expired. Yeah.
I would definitely tell them ae7q.com.
Yeah.
Probably won't be able to make it much bigger, but.
AE7.com, yeah. There are 76 that have been expired for less than 2 years, and an additional 51 that have been canceled for less than 2 years. And Dan, if you don't mind, would you scroll down just a little bit more? Because this website right here is incredibly helpful. So here's a list of all the 1x2s and 2x1s that are going to be available over the next number of years. And you'll see N4AG. That one will be available. It was canceled or expired in March of this year. And so in March of 2022, 2 years and 1 day later, it'll be available for somebody to raise their hand and say, I want that call sign. The ones that are bolded, KC4V, for example, is coming up in the next 30 days. It's going to be available on the 5th of May. And in fact, let's see, let's pick one. Dan, just click on, let's see, one of the blue ones, N4BM. Click on that one. And scroll down, and you will see that this website will tell you everybody, keep scrolling down if you don't mind. We're going to go down and look at the list of all the people that applied for that call sign. And so it was available on the 19th. And so all of these people submitted an application. So what's going to happen? It's all going to go into a big random number generator, and one of those people is going to get that call sign. And in fact, if you scroll on down, Dan, there's a table below this that will show the projected the projected disposition of the application. All right, so the date which you had to apply was April the 19th. And then you see all of these different folks. There's a couple of ones that, when it says unneeded, that means they got another call sign that was ranked higher than this, and so they're not going to need this call sign, so they get tossed out. There's a duplicate, KY4DO, he or she applied twice. They only take one application. And then there are some folks that applied too late, and then, like I said, others that were, here's one that's inactive. What that means is they submitted another application that invalidated this one. So this website, if you're tracking a new call sign, this is the website you want to go to. So thanks a lot, Dan. I appreciate that. And we can go back to the presentation.
I'm amazed that I actually got a call sign.
Yeah. Okay. Of course, the FCC.gov, the wireless website, this is the ULS, Universal Licensing System. That's the website that you have to actually go to submit your application and start this process. You can print the application out and put it in the mail, but it's much easier to do it online. And so the key here is if a call sign has been previously held, it becomes available for reassignment 2 years and 1 day after it either expires or was canceled. And the key is knowing when to apply for that call sign. So, okay, you want a 1x2 or a 2x1. Is that possible? Well, it is, but there are some caveats. For example, there's a high demand for those, and there's a low inventory of those. And as of Saturday, when I was looking at these websites, there were 24 in all of the United States, in all the call districts, all 10 of them, that were supposedly available. There were 64 in the application process, and you can see all the numbers there. There's a grand total of 4,082 times 10, or 40,820 of these call signs that are available in the United States. The easiest ones to get is the 8 call district, for some reason, I don't know, there are just fewer hams in the 8 call district. Sometimes the 0, the 9, and the 1s are a little easier to get. The hardest ones to get is 4 and 5. There are more hams in the 4th call district than any other district, I believe, except maybe for 6 for California, and even then, I don't think that's true. You know, and for example, here's some of them. AB4T had 15 applications just recently. N4WG had 22, but W4CC, which I guess lots of people were interested in that one, had 51 applications. So if you applied for that one, your chances would be 1 in 51. Not very high. So, okay, so now that you've decided, you know, how do you go about making your application? Well, all right, you log into the FCC's Universal Licensing System, the License Manager website. You got to have your FRN. You know, if anybody in here who is licensed, you know, already has an FRN, and you should be able to log on to that website. You know, from the License at a Glance page, you choose the request the vanity call sign, you answer the application questions online, you select your eligibility. Why, you know, what do you qualify to get this call sign? Is it because, you know, it's just a list? Or, you know, if you've got a close relative of a former holder or a former primary station, there are conditions attached to these other two, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. You enter the call sign or call signs, plural, that you are requesting. You validate your licensee information. You know, notice that you're required to keep your address, your mailing address, up to date with the FCC. And so you have the opportunity to validate that information. You review your request, and if you got no changes, you certify it, you electronically sign it. You might want to print a copy just in case. And then just this last note here, I have seen some folks, if they try to update their address or some other personal information, their name's not quite right or something, if you try to update that and request a call sign at the same time, one or the other could conflict, and it could cause you to not be selected for a particular call sign. So I would always do those separately if at all possible. So, okay, now you put your application in, you know, how long does it take? Well, the applications are received on the first federal work day on or after the FCC actually receives the application. So because it's a Saturday, then they all are marked as a Monday. The FCC waits 17 calendar days in case, you know, somebody wants to print one out and mail it in. And then on the first federal work day after 17 days, after the receipt date, so 18 days, and that's where the 18 days that you hear folks talk about comes from. The FCC batch processes all the applications with the same receipt date, duplicates are dismissed, and the remaining applications are processed in a random order. And then selected applications are updated in the ULS, you know, within minutes after that. So, you know, how did I get WK4F? Well, you know, many years ago, in 1978, I was, you know, licensed as a novice. I was 12 years old. Maybe you can do the math and figure out how old I am now. But, you know, I went on to find other things of interest, and I let my license lapse in 1988. Then decided a few years ago to get back into the hobby. Got my license back in 2014, thanks to Shannon and a few others, and I was assigned KM4FDM. So I said, wait a minute, I'd like to have my old call sign back. Is it still available? So I checked online, yeah, it's still available. They hadn't gone back and started reassigning KA4s. So I applied for it, and they rejected it. They said, you got to prove that you were that person. So, you know, and so, okay, fortunately, I still had a copy of my actual license from 1980, that expired in 1988. So I made a copy of it. I attached it to the application, put in a second application, and it was approved. And so then I transitioned back to KA4DNS. Over the next couple of years, I upgraded to general and into extra class, and I said, I'm one of those people that and they call them vanity call signs for a reason. I'm one of those people that wanted to, my call sign to maybe show, what my license class was, and I wanted to be able to get through those DX pileups, so I wanted something short. So I started applying for these 2x1s, these 1x2s, and I'd put in an application and 20 other people would. They just pile on. Now, I wanted to stick with the 4 because, living in the Southeast. But beyond that, the only other thing is, since I wanted it short, I wanted to stay away from the ends, from the November. That's 3 syllables right there before you even get to the number. And so I'm going along through here. I'm submitting multiple applications. I did it wrong a couple of times, and I applied too early, and those got rejected. But, eventually I started tracking the status using AE7Q.com. And there was one application I actually put in, November Mike 4 Papa. Okay, that's only 7 syllables, but it's a November Mike. Oh, man. So I withdrew my application, and that call sign was, because I was down to I was the one, I was going to be my call sign. I said, no, I don't want it. So I gave it up, and some guy that applied a day late got it. But anyway, I thought for sure the FCC computer would give me WD4C. Those are my initials. There were there were only 5 of us that applied. I had a 20% chance. I was hoping surely this faceless, nameless computer would pick me for that call. Yeah, of course not. No, it didn't work out. But finally, after about 8 weeks of applying, I got sent in the application for WK4F. I checked AE7Q.com the next day. I noticed there were 2 people that applied for it, me and one other guy. And then I checked the next day, and it updated his status, and it said unneeded, competition. So that other guy got a call sign, earlier in his list than I did in my list. And so that left me as a 1-to-1 shot, and so I knew that was the call sign I was going to get. Here's a list of some websites, and again, if you go to our club website, you can click on these links because the slides are there. AE7Q, RadioQTH.net, Ham Data. ARRL's got a good write-up on vanity call signs. So they've got a special set of pages there. W5YI.org, you can give these guys money and they'll apply for the vanity call sign for you. They'll do all the paperwork. All you got to do is give them the information. They'll apply for it. They'll keep applying for it, until you get one, but you got to pay for it. It's easy. You don't need to pay for it. It's not that hard. I previously mentioned K8ZT and the spreadsheet that this gentleman has for evaluating what your choices are. Of course, there's QRZ.com that everybody uses, and then a couple of the FCC websites. Just a couple of cautions. If you submit if you're submitting applications on multiple days, once one of those applications, since there's an 18-day period from when you submit it until they take action on it, it keeps sliding. But the minute that they take action on one of your applications and you're granted a new call sign, all the ones that you applied for after that are tossed out. So if you really want this one call sign and nobody's got it, go ahead and put in for it. But realize that if there's another application out there and it's granted before they get to that, then all your other applications go out the door. If you expect to upgrade, you probably want to wait until your upgrade is processed, because if you submitted an application and you upgraded to general and they process that, they're going to see a mismatch between technician and general, and they're going to toss out, because everything has got to match. Watch your call sign availability dates. If a call sign is in high demand, only those that are filed on the day that it becomes available are going to really have an opportunity to obtain that call sign. Applying a day or two early is not going to be considered a valid application. They'll toss it out. Multiple applications for the same call sign will not increase your chances. I've been told, it was before I got back into the hobby, but I've been told back in the day when you did everything by mail, you could submit multiple applications and increase your chances in the random selection. And that was back before computers. You could increase your chances by having multiple applications, but not anymore. Duplicates get tossed out by the system automatically. It doesn't matter what time of the day you file your application. You don't have to stay up till midnight and file it at 12:01 a.m. On the next day. It doesn't matter. I can do it at 12:01 p.m. or I can do it at 11:59 p.m. that same day. It doesn't matter when you submit it, as long as it's on the right day. Modifying an application will change its processing date. Don't modify an application. If you say, man, I really wish I had only, there's one call sign on that list I really don't want. I'm going to modify that application. Well, the minute you modify that application, it's 18 days starts over. And so it won't be processed at the right time for the call sign that you maybe want. And then finally, call sign requests, they got to be valid, as far as structure, the operator class, and the availability to be granted. You would be surprised, and you can find this on 87.com, you would be surprised at the people that ask for, a call sign for a combination of letters and numbers that's not even assigned to the United States, or is not assigned to anybody, because it's, it's like, CAT 0, DOG. Well, wait a minute, no. That's not a call sign. That's not a valid call sign. And quite honestly, anybody that submits a request like that, I wonder how they got their license to start with. But nevertheless.
When you say availability dates, so I want a specific call sign that becomes available tomorrow. Really, I had to apply 17 days ago.
No. On the day that it becomes available is the day that your application has to go in.
Okay.
Well,
but they're not going to look at it for 18 days.
I think if you go to Radio QTH, they sort of color code on the day.
Yeah.
Like on the day you're looking at it, they have a color code that says you want to apply for these now.
Yeah.
It's very helpful.
Yeah. So just kind of to wrap things up, be creative. Be persistent, be patient. And that's really all I wanted to talk to you about tonight. Just share some ideas, some stories, maybe a little bit of information, some really useful websites. AE7Q and Radio QTH that are huge. So, yes, sir.
Did you know that they're going to charge $35 whenever they pass all this stuff?
Yes, I'm aware of that, and it's going to be interesting to see, because to get a vanity call sign is going to cost $35. To upgrade a license is going to cost to get your initial license, and so how that's going to be handled, I don't know. But yeah,
today it's free, but it's not going to.
Correct.
So upgrade to extra now and get your vanity call sign now.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Going back to your question or your talk about modifying a license. Say you've got 15 call signs in there and one of those you do not want. If they issue you that, if you win that call sign, do you have the ability to refuse it?
Don't think so.
No.
I think once they grant it, that's your
So
call.
once you're granted, you're granted.
Yes. Now, the one exception that I mentioned earlier about a call sign not being available for 2 years and 1 day, if you're the previous holder of that call sign, you can get it back at any time. In fact, there are a few people out there that collect call signs, and they jump from one call sign to the next about every 2 or 3 months, particularly one, and I'm not going to offend anybody, but there are some folks who want to keep the 1x2s and the 2x1s to themselves, and so they just jump from what they apply for every one that comes open, and when they're granted, then they put it into a rotation, and they change their call sign every 2 or 3 months, so that they tie up 5 or 10 call signs
For 2 years.
For 2 years, and then it's forever, until as long as they keep that process up. There are a few folks out there that do that.
Oh, hey.
I do have a piece of advice for when you do this.
Yes.
As soon as you consider doing it, get yourself a notepad and start writing down every account, everything that uses your call sign. And be aware of what it is, because you're going to have to go in and change your logbook of the world, your ARRL, your QRZ, your badge, your hat, your So you want to just have a list before you start doing it.
If we wanted to email you, Bill, how would we email you?
I choose not to disclose now. And you know why I didn't change it? Because my email address is ka4dns@gmail.com. That's my old call sign. That's great. I can't have wk4f@gmail.com because all Gmail email addresses have to have at least 5 letters. So
same thing for me. And the other thing I did for mine is I just did N4MI73 @gmail.com, and then I pointed my old call sign one. I just haven't forwarded it to my new one, so that way I'm not missing anything because of that. But there's a ton of stuff if you've had your call sign for a while, you'll be surprised at how many things it's tied into.
I guess that means you need a new BE shirt now.
And credential.
Yeah.
So I can't come this Saturday, sorry, or next Saturday.
You don't think about that, because
Yes, sir.
I changed mine, I didn't.
Technology, to Comcast, to ATT,
Now,
every time my email changed, I get sort of missing
You
something.
put whether you're a felon or not. Was that on the request? I haven't put that.
I know it's on the application for a new license.
And now they require you to register at the
Facebook, I'm about to go ahead and close out the recording.
Honestly, I don't know if it's on the change your call sign. I can't remember.
I know it's on the application itself.
I changed mine 5 years ago.